Sorry, just get situated here. Good evening, everyone. Just want to call the meeting to order for the Oxnard Community Services, Public Safety and Housing Development Committee for March 11th, 2025. Madam Clerk, may we have the roll call and posting of the agenda followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Chair MacArthur.
Here.
Committee Member Perez.
Here.
Committee Member Perallo.
Here.
The agenda for the meeting was posted in the kiosk at City Hall, the Oxnard Public Library, the city administrative offices, and on the city's website on Tuesday, March 4th, 2025. Thank you.
Councilman Perallo, you want to lead us on the Pledge of Allegiance?
Place your hand on your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Councilman Perallo. The next on the agenda is the public comment for items not on the agenda. Madam Clerk, are there any public comments?
Chair MacArthur, we do not have any public speakers in person or virtual. Sorry, we have one last-minute request. Caller ending in 4076, please press *6 to unmute, and you have 3 minutes starting now. Caller ending in 4076, you can start speaking now. Press *6 to unmute.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Committee Chair, Council, Committee members. This is the middle of March, and soon it will be June, followed by July. If it's anything like last year, in June, the illegal use of fireworks will begin and continue to escalate to a crescendo or outright war on July the 4th. Just the other night, there was a horrendous display of illegal fireworks in Ventura. It was posted on the Nextdoor app, complete with the video. We could even hear the noise here in Oxnard. The point that I'm trying to make is now is the time to start planning how this city is going to curb this illegal activity in this city. I'm not talking about a handful of officers and a few drones as used in the past. It's going to take some drastic measures, and the residents of this city who wish and deserve a peaceful environment demand that this city do something other than pass an ordinance. The ordinance is useless without enforcement. Do something, please. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments. Does that conclude our public speaker?
Chair MacArthur, yes, that concludes our speakers both in person and virtually. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, and the only item listed is the approval of the minutes for the February 25th, 2025 Community Services, Public Safety and Housing Development Committee meeting. Any members have any questions or comments?
No questions.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Committee Member Perez,
Yes.
Committee Member Perallo,
Yes.
Chair MacArthur,
Yes,
and the motion carries 3-0. Thank you.
thank you. The next item on the agenda is item D1 from the Fire Department. The subject, the resolution acknowledging receipt of the Fire Chief's report on state-mandated fire inspections. The recommendation is for this committee, the Public Safety Housing Development Committee. It's being recommended that the City Council adopt a resolution acknowledging receipt of the report prepared by the Oxnard Fire Department's Fire Chief regarding state-mandated inspections of specified occupancies as required by sections 13146.2 and 13146.3 of the California Health and Safety Code. Fire Chief, do you want to just give us just a brief overview of what that entails?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the time. So this is an annual report that we are required to provide to Council on our inspections, and specifically the state-mandated inspections. We always like to try and take the opportunity when we do the state-mandated reporting that we also provide a little bit more on fire department activities for the previous year. So that's the basis for tonight's agenda item.
Thank you. Any members have any questions or comments?
Just a comment, I wanted to really thank you for the work. I know the Ghost Ship warehouse fire in the city of Oakland was a tragic one. I actually, during my time when I lived in the Bay Area, in the community that I lived in at that time, when I was going to graduate school, One individual that I used to come across in the shopping center often was actually lost. Her and her partner passed away during that ghost ship warehouse fire. So it's a tragic loss, but it's amazing to see that your team is really working to ensure the safety and protection of our community.
Thank you. Councilwoman Perez, yes, Councilman Perez.
Yes. Thank you again for the information. It's important. Health, safety, and welfare, you're one half of the public safety, police being the other. I appreciate how you alluded to the 2016 goat fire in Oakland, and it doesn't seem that it could be 2016, but it's, it's easy to remember that. 36 lives lost, and all the things we do to try to make things so that people do not put themselves in jam. The educational group E occupancy and the compliance rate we're having is 100%. It's fantastic. On the residential, the percentage is not as high. How do we compare with other municipalities, and any suggestions to get that up? And I understand it's a matter of staff. That's a big chunk of it. It's not just make a phone call, take a picture. It's a matter of somebody doing an inspection.
Councilman Perrella, your comments are well-founded, and so I don't have comparisons with other jurisdictions, but certainly I would like the opportunity to come back and provide that to see what that looks like. But I'd also like to just take an opportunity to provide a little bit more context around the staffing issues, because what ends up happening when our inspectors find issues and violations when they do these inspections, our goal is to obviously make sure of life safety is our number one priority. But ultimately, a lot of the issues that need correcting, they're not having to go through a community development process and a permitting process. And so it's something, when we talk about adding staffing, we certainly haven't been making that request, because it's something that we need. We need staffing in various departments to be able to address some of these issues. Unfortunately, the fire department didn't do a great job of this up until about 5 years ago, where we really started to focus on this work. And so we're still finding places that didn't get an inspection in many, many years. For this year, our compliance rate dropped a little from last year. And so there's a couple of reasons for that. Some of these inspections are actually done by our engine companies. And so as a part of their auxiliary duties, in addition to responding to emergency calls, training and those kinds of things, is to actually go and inspect apartment buildings. The engine companies have struggled to keep up with that this year with the increasing call load, and certainly when we've had these big fires and had to send people out of the city. The other piece too is our prevention, our folks that work in prevention. We've had a number of arson fires that our folks have been very dedicated in tracking down, and that's one number that we're actually proud of out of this report, is the 10 arson arrests that we've made this year. That's a record, as far as I know, for at least my time here with the Oxnard Fire Department. With that being said, however, to your point, 38% is not good enough. I will acknowledge that. So by the time this report comes before council, I would look to have some more feedback on what surrounding jurisdictions and what other jurisdictions who file these reports, what their compliance rates are.
And to your credit, Chief, I take full responsibility. I should have given you a heads up several days ago. I apologize. I seriously apologize for not having done that. With respect to, as you mentioned, the arson investigations and the arson arrests, have there been any convictions on that? Do we have an idea of how successful we'll be with the convictions?
I don't believe any of those cases have gone to prosecution yet. One of our longer term goals is to actually, when we have an arson investigation, our investigators take it to a certain point, and then we pass it off to Oxnard Police Department detective to then take it, sort of button up the case, and then move that to the district attorney's office. One of the things we would like, one of our sort of longer range goals would be that our arson investigators take it from sort of the fire all the way through to the prosecution. So we're not there yet in terms of our expertise, but often the detectives over at Oxnard PD already have a big caseload, and we just add more to that when we have these arson investigations. So we're trying to alleviate some of their workload in us taking that on. But I don't believe any of the cases of the 10 arrests that are listed in this report, I don't believe any of those have yet gone to prosecution.
Okay, thank you. And one last, I'd like to make a comment.
Sure, absolutely.
I did get a question, and it had to do with this particular item. Well, it must be the people that are living in illegal conversions and, garages and stuff. I don't believe that we investigate that as far as safety unless there's a complaint or we get a heads up that you don't go looking for illegal, habitats and garages or something else. And can you just clarify that? How do you decide where you're going to go look?
Yeah, so as a general rule, we're not, and certainly garages, single-family residential homes, that really isn't part of it, isn't our jurisdiction unless we're invited into a residence. And so certainly we're not looking for those kinds of things. As with the housing crisis where it's at, I don't want to exacerbate a homelessness issue. And so that's not sort of work we're looking for. This report here covers multifamily units, hotels and motels, those kinds of things. And that's where we really want to make sure, because there's an increased life safety hazard, obviously, with more residents, the fire protection systems, extinguishers, smoke detectors, those kinds of things are in place to keep those residents safe.
Thank you very much. You've answered my questions. And again, I apologize that I didn't get to you sooner.
I'll make sure I come back with something
Okay.
for the council meeting.
You do terrific work, and I know you will. Thank you. Those are all the questions I have, Mayor.
I just had a brief comment, Chief. I just wondered how the smoke detector program was going.
So we, last August, we actually received a new grant for funding to install another 5,000 smoke detectors. And so we've had one event so far. It took a little while to actually procure the smoke detectors. So we had one event at the end of January. We've got another event coming up in May where we're partnering with the American Red Cross again. And so I think we're already up, we're close to 1,000 smoke detectors installed from this new grant of 5,000. And I was just speaking with Councilmember Perez prior to the meeting starting, and that grant opportunity, it's slated to, I'm not sure where the federal government, that things are a little bit uncertain right now, but it is slated to reopen the grant application in April, so we have an opportunity to actually apply for more smoke detectors. It is somewhat labour intensive because it's not something we just hand out. We physically have to go and install them, but they make a huge difference in the safety of our residents in the event of a fire.
Yeah. Thank you for that initiative. Councilwoman Perez, do you have a comment or a question? No?
My last question here, I was looking at the increase in calls for service. Do you mind discussing, some of the rationale behind the calls for service and the increase there, some of the experiences that you have?
Yeah, so the single biggest driver has been the increase in medical calls. We have, this year was unusual in terms of the amount of incendiary fires that we responded to, but the primary driver of the call volume increase has been medical calls, and it's been a significant increase since COVID, essentially. It really bumped up, and it never sort of went back down, never really plateaued. It's just kept on climbing. And so we are looking at ways that we can try and reduce the number of calls we respond to. Obviously, if it's an emergency call, we're always going to go. But if there's lower level urgency in those calls or acuity, particularly on those medical calls, and so that's where we're looking at establishing a community paramedicine program where we can be more proactive with some of the folks that tend to call 911 with lower acuity issues. And then also working with currently the Board of Supervisors are considering a new ambulance service for the county, and so that'll be going out to bid here later this year. My hope and belief is that we'll see a much more robust system, and hopefully through that we can actually at least take some of the pressure off the increases in the call volume. The other thing I'll just touch on is call volume. While the medical calls have grown faster than population, population growth is ordinarily what drives call volume increases, but we've seen in the medical calls it's climbing faster than population is at the moment.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's no further comments or questions. I move that we adopt this resolution and bring it before the full council
I'll second that.
for receipt of the report as indicated. So we will, Madam Clerk, the vote?
Chair MacArthur,
Yes.
Committee Member Perallo,
Yes.
Committee Member Pettis.
Yes.
The motion carries 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is item D2, also from the Fire Department, agreement regarding field training for paramedic students. It's being recommended that the Community Services Public Safety Housing Development Committee recommends that the City Council authorize the city manager to execute a paramedic emergency medical technician, EMT student education agreement. It's a field internship with the California Firefighter Joint Apprenticeship Committee, CalJAC, for a term ending December 31st, 2027. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Chief?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is our ability to bring folks that are going through the paramedic training. So from start to finish to become a paramedic is about 9 months. And so they do 5 months in a classroom setting. They should do some time in the hospital, and then they do some time in the field, getting experience in the pre-hospital arena. And so Oxnard, being a densely populated location, is a phenomenal location for people to be able to get the experience they need to become a great paramedic. This program in particular, the CalJAC Joint Apprenticeship Program, this is the first paramedic academy that they've actually run. It was actually run down in LA, but part of the reason we are doing this is, one, we get an opportunity to look at potential future Oxnard firefighters as they come through this internship program. But secondarily, we're looking to potentially partner with CalJAC in the future to establish a paramedic academy here in Ventura County.
Thank you. Any comments?
Yes.
Councilmember
At the recent Pleasant Valley Neighborhood Council meeting, this subject came up, and there was one of the members of your group was there and made a presentation, but there was a lot of information, and the residents were extremely impressed with this process and what's going on and what your department is doing to try to get more people involved, give them an opportunity to learn something and basically inquire and increase themselves in value to themselves by having a skill, a marketable skill, very precious marketable skill. I was impressed with the response from the public on that, really was. I support this totally.
Yeah, thank you. And Councilmember Perello, if I could take a moment. So the program that we've started, this workforce development program, which is EMS Corps, that we're doing that through grant funding. And so we currently have 20 students in that cohort. I actually went out and visited them today in the classroom. These students come from incredibly adverse backgrounds, and they absolutely understand the opportunity they're being given. And so it's really neat to see them take this on, and they're really showing leadership in the skills that they're learning. That program allows them to become an EMT, which is sort of the base level. And so one of the things we'll be working on is getting them, once they have 6 months of experience in the field, whether it's in a hospital ER or on an ambulance, then they have the opportunity to come back and become a paramedic and potentially be an intern that this MOU that's in front of you tonight. But that EMS core program it's the kind of stuff that gets me out of bed in the morning and motivates me, because I think we really are changing lives, and we're taking folks from this community, bringing them up, giving them the skills to thrive. They're going to make incredible public servants.
The biggest thing that came from that meeting was the impression of the people speaking, how important it was that these guys that anybody, men or women, have an opportunity and realize the opportunity they had. I believe that several of them were going out to talk to neighbors that have kids that might be interested in something like this, that felt that they didn't have opportunities in the world, that there was a tremendous opportunity right in front of them, provided by the Oxnard Fire Department. Thank you.
Yeah, applications are still open for our next cohort. So applications are open until the end of March for our next cohort. That'll be starting in July. Oxnard EMS Corps.org is where you can get all the information you need, or just call our office and we can get folks lined out. They have to go through an interview process, but once they're in, we'll pay them a stipend and we'll give them all the support they need to succeed.
Thank you. It's a wonderful program. I appreciate you saying that it really connects young people that come from adverse parts of our community. And to hear you say that's really heartwarming to hear you say that is what motivates you to come. So that's good. That's what we need to do more for our young people. So I'm fully in support of it. We need more things like this. So thank you, Chief.
Yeah, I agree. I think investment in professional development and exposure opportunities is really important. And I think this is a great way to alleviate a lot of barriers. I appreciated seeing that training officers will receive a 5% ad pay for shifts where they serve as field training officers. And they will also receive $800 in training officer pay to complete the 480 hours of field instruction. So I really, appreciate the investment there.
Absolutely. No, our field training officers take their role very seriously. They really believe in paramedicine, and they make sure that the folks coming through Oxnard Fire Department get high quality training and skills.
That's wonderful. I move that we adopt the recommendation as stated.
I'll second.
Yeah. Get the vote.
Chair MacArthur, just for the record, we have no public speakers in person or virtually.
Thank you.
Chair MacArthur on the roll
Yeah.
call.
Yes.
Committee Member Perez,
Yes.
Committee Member Peralta,
Yes.
and the motion carries 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Unless a member has a future item for the agenda, there being no further business on the agenda? No? Okay. And without any objection, we are adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, Chief.